Welcome everybody to the Owensboro Board of Commissioners special call meeting November the 13th. This time I'll ask our city clerk Beth Cecil to please call the roll.
Commissioner Jay Villada.
Here.
Commissioner Larry Conder.
Here.
Mayor Tom Watson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bob Glenn.
Here.
Commissioner Pam Smith-Wright.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, I ask you to please stand for our invocation and our pledge by Commissioner Jay Villada.
Thank you, Mayor. You please bow your head or reflect in silent meditation if that's your choosing. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, each and every one we are given. Thank you for the veterans, the remembrance of the fallen, those who have served, and those currently serving to protect our freedoms. Thank you for the first responders, police, fire, and staff, and city officials who work hard to make sure this community keeps moving forward. Please watch over this community, especially now the homeless and less fortunate. Protect them from the elements as things are changing. Offer them safe haven. Please grant this commission wisdom to make prudent decisions, the strength to execute, and the courage to implement for the betterment of this community. Protect us, lead us, guide us, and direct us. We ask this in your precious Son, Jesus' name, and we pray.
Amen.
Thank you, Jerry.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome everybody. At this time, we'll go to item number 4 on the agenda. We have some of our good friends from the Kentucky League of Cities here, and I'll let them introduce themselves when they come to the podium because they need to state their name and address for the record. JD. Hey, Claude.
Can I skip the address, Mayor?
No.
I feel like I'm a resident of
There you
Owensboro
go.
sometimes. I'm J.D. Cheney. I'm the Deputy Executive Director for the Kentucky League of Cities. You all know why we're here. I'm joined by Brianna Carroll, our Director of Governmental Affairs. You know, we get to do this a lot, and hopefully it doesn't get on your nerves coming to Owensboro, because it's a good thing that we're here to give your legislators recognition for what they do for city governments in Kentucky. I wasn't going to share, Mayor, that we gave this award to Senator Bowen at our KLC conference back in September. And where was that at? Louisville? We presented.
Wasn't Owensboro, that's all I know.
Wasn't Owensboro. Owensboro 2020, hopefully.
There you go.
For the KLC conference to come back. But, you know, I wasn't going to share. We gave the award there, which was appropriate for Senator Bowen, because he's done so much not only for the city of Owensboro, but for all the cities of Kentucky, all 400 plus of them, during his time in the legislature, from the passage of classification reform to dealing on a number of retirement issues. As chair of the Senate, state, and local government, almost every single bill that impacted city governments passed through his committee and passed because of him. And there are countless bills that deserved to die, that we wanted to kill, that would have limited your local decision-making authority, that died at his hands because he sat in that chairmanship chair. So we thought it was extremely important to recognize that service for all the cities of Kentucky. But in typical Joe Bowen fashion, he always says, I want to come home. He's always worried about his constituency and his city primarily, and we're happy to be able to come here and honor him not only for the past legislative session and for the work that he's done, but for a storied career in the legislature. You think about there were very few members of the House of Representatives that when the Republicans were in the minority in the House, that got a bill to the governor's desk. And he worked with you, Mayor, during your first term on legislation that would have eased the process that a number of cities and counties have looked at now. If they look at creating efficiencies and consolidating services or bringing them together, and was able to pass that bill to keep county government from having precedent to take over cities. It's a model piece of legislation that a lot of other states look for. He did that as a freshman member, minority member of the House, and it has wide-ranging impact going forward. He took a little bit of a break, and then he came back and served, as you all know, as your all-state senator. And you name the bill, whether it was prohibiting unfunded mandates on city governments, whether it was helping shore up the retirement system in 2013 with the legislation that was passed to help city governments on their pension system, whether it was being the one that helped encourage the CERS separation movement that we're talking about right now. They are countless. And you cannot say that Senator Bowen was just simply marking time by serving in the legislature. He made a real difference not only in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, but on the ability of cities to be able to be the best versions of themselves, to raise the state as a whole, because he understood the concept that the whole can only be as great as the sum of its parts. Senator Bowen, you've been a great friend not only to us personally, but to the cities across Kentucky, and most certainly your constituents that you've served here in Owensboro and the city of Owensboro. So I want to present on behalf of League of Cities the Friend of Cities Award for Senator Joe Bowen. Mayor, I don't know what the protocol is, but after can I make it up? After Senator Bowen goes, if it's okay, maybe we could all take a picture together with the whole city.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I suppose this is a point in time where I'm supposed to say something profound or at least smart. But J.D., he's a tough act to follow. You can see how articulate he actually is. But let me begin, and I'll keep my comments very, very brief because I know you're here for other purposes. I want to congratulate each one of you on the commission tonight on this past election, whether the outcome was favorable to you or not. Because even if it wasn't the outcome that you had hoped for, you at least were in the arena. You were out there trying to make a difference. And for those that have never been in that arena, it's not easy. So I applaud you. I congratulate you, those of you that were successful, those of you that were not. And I would encourage you to stay engaged. We need participation. I respect each of you, and my hat's off to each one of you. I appreciate the work that you have done and will continue to do as a city commission. There's been no greater honor for me than to represent the 8th Senate District, Davis, McLean, and Hancock County, and the good folks that comprise that Senate district. And I've often said that I represent the best district in the state of Kentucky. My constituents are the best, are the cream of the crop. There's so much that I could say, but this is very humbling for me. It's been, again, a joy and a pleasure to work with you folks, to work with county government, to work with my constituent or my colleagues in Frankfort, and it's been especially great for me to work with J.D. and Brianna. And I will tell you that it's not only been an effort on my behalf, but it's also been an effort on my partner in life's account as well. She's been a yeoman through all of this, and she's forged a great friendship with J.D. and Brianna as well, because some of these issues took us into the dark of night and long, tedious hours to get through. We've passed bills that were 350 pages long, and we did it in the final hour. And while some may take issue with passing bills in the final hours of the session, it's just the way the process works, and sometimes the clock ticks down on you and you don't have a lot of time to get things done. But we've passed some really important legislation with that clock ticking, and I appreciate you all working with me, because I would have been far less of a legislator had it not been for you folks there holding my hand along the way. So thank you so much for this. It's very humbling, And again, I just appreciate the opportunity to have been able to receive an award like this. Thank you all.
JD, if you'll wait just a second, we may have another little something for the senator, if you don't mind. We have a proclamation from the city of Owensboro. Whereas the citizens of Davies, Hancock, and McLean County do hereby take great pleasure in honoring our hometown hero, Joe Bowen. And whereas on April 22nd, 1950, Rollin and Norma Bowen welcomed Joe Rollin Bowen to the world. Joe grew up in Davis County and participated in a variety of youth sports. He continued to excel in academics and athletics in the county school system, graduating in 1968. Whereas upon graduation, Joe attended the University of Kentucky and graduated in 1972 on time with a degree in business administration. Joe then returned to Owensboro to join the family business, Bowen Tire, which his father had founded in 1949. And whereas Senator Bowen has served on many local and state boards prior to being elected to the Kentucky State Senate, Joe served in the Kentucky House of Representatives from 2005 and 2006. And whereas in 2010, Joe Bowen was called to public service again and was elected the senator from the 8th District. And whereas as a result of his tireless work for the Kentucky residents, he has earned the title, the Defender of Democracy, by his fellow senators, always defending Lunchbox Joe and Jill. Whereas out of all his accomplishments, his best decision was marrying Vicki Conkright. They have 2 children, Adam and Joy, and he is Papa Joe to 5 precious grandchildren. Now therefore I, Thomas Hart Watson, Mayor of the City of Owensboro, do hereby claim November the 13th, 2018 as Joe Bowen Day in Owensboro, Kentucky, and encourage all citizens to join me in recognizing Joe Bowen for his contributions to the community. Thank you. Okay, just a final comment. When, as elected officials, part of our call to serve is to make sure you stay in contact with Frankfort and Washington, and with Joe being the chairman of the Senate Local Government Committee, we had a true friend there, and it was, even when it didn't have anything to do with his committee, I could call him and he'd say, okay, hang on, and 2 minutes later, somebody'd call me and help us with any kind of situation we had. So you will be missed, and hopefully you'll never be forgotten. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, item number 6, ordinance, second reading. Item 6A, Counselor.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 20-2018, an ordinance revising the City of Owensboro Employee Handbook Policies 318 and 319, maintaining our drug and alcohol testing policies and procedures in accordance with applicable law. Publicly read for approval on second reading this 13th day of November, 2018.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve, please?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
City Manager, do you have any comments? I think you made them last time. Are you good?
I did, Mayor. Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll have roll call vote. Ms. Cecil?
Commissioner Vellada,
Yes.
Commissioner Conder,
Yes.
Mayor Watson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Glenn,
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize former city assistant manager and city attorney, Ed Ray, wasn't it? That's right, yeah, Ed Ray. Thanks for being here, Ed. Item number 7, ordinance, first reading, no vote.
Ordinance 21-2018, an ordinance establishing an entertainment destination center in the downtown of Owensboro, and further directing the City of Owensboro to apply for an entertainment destination center license from the Kentucky Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, and further establishing the requirements for a licensee to sell alcoholic beverages within the common areas of the entertainment destination center. Introduced and publicly read on first reading this 13th day of November, 2018.
Thank you, Council. At this time, I'll call on City Manager Nate Pagan to kind of elaborate a little bit on this, because I believe Austin's dying to write an article on it.
I'm sure he is, Mayor. Be happy to. This is first reading of an ordinance creating an entertainment destination center downtown and authorizing us to apply for the necessary license from the state. An entertainment destination center allows alcohol to be carried off the premises where it is sold. If you would refer to the screen, the area shaded in blue represents the boundary that we are proposing for the EDC. You can see obviously it's the river to the north, south to 5th Street, because this incorporates the two most southerly premises with an alcohol license, being the Miller House and Bill's Restaurant there before 5th Street. And then after getting south of 5th Street, the community gets more residential in nature. On the east, the boundary is generally J.R. Miller Boulevard, with an exception to incorporate the Miller House. And then on the west, it goes west of the Holiday Inn to incorporate the area that will hopefully develop at some point along the river there as well. You can see the areas that are not shaded in blue, of course, that being the playground at Smothers Park. So that area is excluded, so alcohol would not be allowed in the playground. And then also the other areas that you see on the eastern side are owned by churches, either First Baptist or Settle Memorial. So we excluded the church properties from the boundaries as well. The ordinance does allow the open carry of alcohol within the boundaries, but not at all times. Instead, it only allows alcohol to be carried for specific events at specific locations at specific times. Outside of an event, the same rules apply that would apply today. By requiring the event promoter to get a permit, it allows us to review the nature of the event, its location, security, and other relevant considerations. Additionally, the event promoter will be required to provide liability insurance and name the city as an additional insured. This ordinance, as you know, is the culmination of years of discussion and countless hours of staff time. We believe this approach is a prudent and reasonable step in the evolution of our downtown.
And it was a high priority on the OBKY project, if I remember correctly, as well. Any comments from the commission?
I've got a question, if that would be okay.
Commissioner Glenn.
Okay, so if I'm looking at this map correctly, the park itself, the playground, is excluded, but the Shelton Memorial to the right, I want to make sure I'm looking at the map correctly, is included?
I believe that is correct, yes.
Is that wise? I mean, that's sort of a, I don't know, to me, it's kind of like sacred ground. I mean, do we really want people drinking near the Shelton Memorial? That would be my only question.
Yeah, I understand that. That's certainly a valid point. We were just basing this on feedback at our previous discussion, so that hadn't been brought up before, but
I would just
I
respectfully ask if there's a committee, if this is passed in second reading, and if a committee is looking at tweaking it, I would tweak the Shelton Memorial. I just think that's a wonderful space. We have so many veterans events there, and I know the veterans, like to hoist one now and then, but I don't even think that they would agree that the Shelton Memorial is an appropriate place to do that. The other question is, are we allowing it in City Hall? I see our parking lot, if I've got the right map, right? But then the building itself is included in the zone?
Theoretically.
I know we like to party, I'm just asking.
Theoretically, that's correct, but again, we would have to allow an event to occur here, so that would be at our discretion, so.
Do we foresee
It's
that? I mean,
unlikely,
Okay,
but it could occur.
okay. Okay. All right, well, the Shelton Memorial definitely would be a concern. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Bob. Good comments. Commissioner Velada.
Can this be expanded at some point, just in the event that we could grow further west or even south down the corridor past Fifth Street?
That's a great question, absolutely. So we tried to encompass what we thought the general footprint would be now, but it certainly is adjustable or can be added or decreased as needed in the future.
Thank you.
Commissioner Condon.
Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome.
City Manager Nate Pagan, could you walk me through a process here? Let's say, for example, somebody applies for a special event permit, and in doing so, they have to describe the area where they're going to have this event, whether it be Friday after 5 or a pub crawl or anything else like that. They then would have to check the box that the open container would apply at that time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so with that, then the Public Events Committee, I assume, evaluates that as far as where that footprint is and what additional costs might come into play. For example, if you have to have more public works individuals or police enforcement, that's evaluated at that time, right?
That's absolutely correct.
And the costs associated with that would be passed on to that whomever is applying for that permit.
You're right. Then that can and does occur currently.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome. Okay,
I had one other, but go ahead, Mayor. If you have a question, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just had one other question.
Commissioner, go ahead.
Chief Speed and I were talking. Would you be willing to address this? So my question is, what do we project would have to happen in terms of special arrangements by the police force on a night that we would have a group that wants to have an event? And I'm thinking, the one that I think fits into this rubric based on what's been proposed is like the White On Second event that the Symphony has, which is a very nice event, close up part of the street, I assume. What sort of extra resources, just on a basic level, I know you said dollars might be hard to assess, would the OPD need to apply to this to make it happen?
This is Jeff Speed, Assistant Chief, OPD. Sort of uncharted territories, and we do not want to impede the flow of progress in downtown Owensboro. So we'd have to look at this and make evaluations as we go. Now, special events applies for packets, and it comes through us. We look to see if there's any needs, if we can meet those. There may be the possibility of some contractual overtime based upon the event. But as far as increased staffing and things like that on the street, we would just have to see how that goes. And we're just going to have to evaluate it to see. Anytime there is alcohol involved at any event, there's a chance for increased calls for service, but there are days we're very busy, and there are days that we're not as busy. So it's just on a day-by-day basis to see what's brought forth to us, and we respond as the need arises. So to give you a specific answer, I'm sorry, I really can't. But, we feel that we're equipped with our staffing that we have currently. But if the need arose for changes, that's something we would have to bring forth down the road after we could make an informed decision and provide those numbers to the chief and then to the city manager and so forth.
So while you're still up there, let me ask Nate a question. So City Manager Pagan, the committee, will there be a committee, if this is approved as a committee, sit over this, Tim Ross and those folks?
That's correct.
Will it include a representative from OPD?
It does.
Okay,
Yes,
then
it
I'm
does.
good.
Yes, it
Thank
does.
you, Chief,
I
appreciate it.
think those
Thank you.
are some concerns that were brought up when Tim did his presentation. And we just have to kind of wait and see. And we got all the confidence in the world in you guys, so
Yeah,
we'll
thank
go from there. Anybody else? Anybody from the public? Oh, yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record, although I do know you.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name's Andy Gamblin, 2920 Yale Place, the Roosevelt House. I'm very, very concerned about this Well, let me back up a little bit. First of all, when I was running for, of course, city commissioner, and when we had the candidate forum here, the former county judge, Judge Hare, he read, this was one of the questions that he read to me. And of course, it was very, very misleading. And
The question was?
yeah, the question was.
Okay.
It had entertainment destination downtown. That was what he had said. And then I know you quoted later that I misunderstood. No, I did not misunderstood. Liquor license was not in the question that he read to me.
I did something else?
Yeah, and I mean, nothing against you, but you just said that I misunderstood the question because it was in the newspaper that you said that I misunderstood. But anyway, my complaint
I don't recall
is
that, but I'll take your word for it.
yeah, I promise you did because I got the newspaper at the house. So anyway, my concern is we don't need this downtown because you all are supposed to be up here protecting us, protecting the people. Just like in his prayer just a while ago, the betterment of Owensboro, the betterment of our community, it's going to open up a Pandora's box. It's going to cause more trouble for our law enforcement. I work part-time for Mr. Nance Security, and this past summer at the convention center, young people was down there drinking, and they got into they was fighting down there, and had to call the police to come down and get them out. And then at the sports center, when they had the Justin Moore concert, they got into a fight. And there was some lady came up to me when I was doing security. She said, "Can I go in the parking lot and use the restroom?" She was drunk. I mean, we don't need this downtown. And like I said, I want to back up a little bit. In the Bible, government was appointed. The Lord appointed us to be leaders and to represent the people and to watch over the people. And you're also supposed to be watching over the betterment of the people. And this is, people are going to be down here drinking, getting hurt, going out on the road drunk, maybe causing an accident. Somebody could get hurt. The blood would be on y'all's hands if something happens like that. So I pray, if this thing comes up before the new commissioners take office, I pray that y'all will vote this down. But if it doesn't, I know some of you are still going to be on there. They'll have 2 new ones on. And I pray that y'all will do the right thing, pray about it, and vote no for it, because we don't need this in this community.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. And like all ordinances, they can be done away with if things get out of hand. But we appreciate your comments. Anybody else from the public? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move to item 7B. Is that right, Counselor?
That's correct. Ordinance 22-2018, an ordinance amending the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018 and ending June 30th, 2019, and amending Ordinance 9-2018 to receive donations for dog park and set up the dog park project, and to receive transit grant funds, set up the related transit projects, and reduce general fund transfer to transit accordingly, and to transfer funds from Capital Improvements Fund to International Bluegrass Music Center Fund per agreement. Introduced and publicly read on first reading this 13th day of November, 2018.
I'll call on City Manager, please.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
This budget amendment has 3 broad components. Number 1, to account for the receipt and expenditure of funds raised by the dog park group. As we've discussed at the last couple of meetings, they are raising the money privately to build the park, so it is in fact a pass-through, so it has no net impact on the city's budget. Number 2 is related to the Bluegrass Museum budget. It reduces the carryover amounts in the project and creates a separate project for the funds approved in the settlement with the River Park Center for the space vacated by the Bluegrass Museum. These funds are currently in the new Bluegrass Museum budget, so we're just transferring them from one line to another. So again, no net impact on the budget. And the third component is to account for grant funds received by the transit system for vehicles, parts, shelters, and equipment. While these grants increase the overall spending in transit, they reduce the transfer from the general fund to the transit fund by $41,957 resulting in savings to the city.
Thank you. Any discussion from the commission? Where's Mr. Zim? Oh, he's not here today. Any discussion from the public? Okay, thank you very much. This time we'll move to item 8, municipal orders. Counselor?
Municipal Order 26-2018, a municipal order declaring the property located at 1420 Jackson Street as surplus property, and further authorizing the mayor to execute deeds transferring the property for purposes of economic development. Introduced and publicly read for approval this 13th day of November 2018.
I'll make a motion to approve. Could I please have a second?
Second.
City manager, you have any comments?
I do, Mayor. This municipal order declares surplus and authorizes the transfer of 1420 Jackson Street. It will be transferred to our local community development housing organization, or CHODO. And the CHODO receives a portion of our home funds, which are federal funds we receive that are restricted to a similar purpose. And then they will ultimately use the property for low-income housing. The property we're declaring surplus and transferring was donated to the city by the previous owner.
Thank you. Any discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the public? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8B, Counselor.
Municipal Order 27-2018, a municipal order authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a memorandum of agreement between the City of Owensboro and Davis County Fiscal Court, extending the juvenile drug court program an additional 3 years. Introduced and publicly read for approval this 13th day of November 2018.
I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
City manager, would you have any discussion items?
Just briefly, for the last several years, the city and the county have split the cost of the juvenile drug court program. The current agreement expires at the end of this year, so this municipal order authorizes a 3-year extension of that agreement. County Attorney Claude Porter is here to present a brief on the program because his office administers and leads the program.
Any discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the public, please?
I believe that's my cue, Mayor.
There you got it, baby.
Claude Porter, I'm the county attorney. I'm at 210 West 3rd.
Don't break my mic, man.
I'll try not to do
Yeah.
that. Just as Nate has said, we've had this program for a number of years. This is the second time we've asked that it be renewed. This time we've asked to renew it at a lower level of funding than we have in the past. In the past, we'd asked for $88,000. This year, we'll just ask for $70,000 from each of the governments.
The reason being?
We are very good at administering our funds.
Give you props, man.
We originally created the drug court in 2006. In 2018, we assessed 28 kids. We've accepted 16, and currently there are 7 participating. The team members we have include the judge, myself, a public defender, and then members of the schools who are CADC, Certified Alcohol and Drug Counselors, as well as community partners. We collaborate with 10 or more community partners who volunteer anywhere from 4 to 6, sometimes up to 10 or 12 hours a week. We meet once a week on Thursdays, and each of them meet with those. They also have counseling sessions and therapeutic sessions that they meet with them each time. The drug court team does not get paid, only the therapists are paid. We have staff meetings quarterly. We have meetings at least twice a year to determine new pathways. We've changed from a strictly kid-oriented program to a family-oriented program, and we bring in kids who have generally offenses that are related to drugs or other public offenses, but they do have to be nonviolent and non-sexual in nature, and sometimes other public offenses. I thought I had, there it is. Kids, our drug court participants have to be charged with one of those eligible offenses. They are from 12 to 17 years of age. They participate for 24 weeks, up to 24 weeks, and have a substance abuse and dependency criteria to get into the program. They refer from schools, CDWs, or any other community resource, and they are accepted after an assessment. The phases include drug testing, supervision, a curfew, school attendance, and treatment groups. There's a 12-week phase 1 that includes testing, biweekly court appearances. We meet with a group coordinator. They have 2 hours of treatment, a 6 p.m. curfew. The second phase is another 12 weeks where they have testing. They also meet with the coordinator and others as well. We graduate groups when they complete all that, their family, friends, supporters, and you all are invited when we do that as well. When we have sanctions, things for kids who haven't participated the way they're supposed to, we can include community service, book reports, home detentions. We have essays. In the end, if we have to, we can take away their electronic devices, their license, and we can even put them in detention if that's necessary. Incentives to try to keep them around, we do have gift cards, verbal praise. We'd like to give them just other kinds of notices as well. The parents also participate, and they are included because they do have to provide transportation, but they are required to participate. The parents are. Because of their appearances and because they're encouraged to communicate with us, we monitor and enforce the home rules as well as what the parents do with each of those as well. That's the contempt and the sanctions that we have, which could include, again, detention or removing kids from home. This is our budget for this year. It's a little bit small, but what we're looking at this year is about $100,000 is what we spent. We had $170,000 initially. We would be looking at the next 2 years or the next 3 years a budget of about $140,000. Mostly that includes the cost for the drug court coordinator, who is a part-time person in my office. She also works in the domestic violence office as well, and then the cost of the drug testing units. The rest of the stuff we pick up. The salaries and things are there, the drug testing, the counseling services are paid by those. Housing, the county pays for directly. There are some in-kind services that the county attorney provides, as well as the professional time that's donated, and we contribute either an in-kind amount and roughly 1/3 of that. So, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Would encourage you and hope that you can continue to support us.
Lord, I want to thank you for your involvement in this program, and really people don't understand all you do over there at the county, and this is one way that we do protect our citizens and that we do try and help them. And
we do.
You were kind enough to allow me to sit in on your domestic violence group, and I was totally taken aback by the sincerity of all the people that you have working for you, and it's
thank you.
It's a true compliment to you and the city and the county. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you all. I can't do anything without the people who are there. I'm only as good as the people who work for me as you are as well, Judge, Mayor.
Thank you.
You know, I'm in the wrong place, so you have
I know.
but we do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
If there are any other questions or
A quick one, that's a sidebar. County Attorney Porter, about a year ago, we had the issues on 22nd Street. Has that pretty much been resolved? Because you were pretty actively involved, as was Chief Elam. I just want to hear, this is for the public's benefit, because I think the answer is good news.
And one of the things that came out of that, we created a new program, restorative justice program, which has just started there. We applied for and received a grant that allowed us to participate and get kids involved in those. The police department, both sets of schools, and the sheriff's office all are involved in those. So, and yes, that one's done partly because some of those kids ended up in what we would call jail, but the law calls juvenile detention for some period of time, and that also helped tremendously as well.
Good. Glad to hear that's moving in a positive direction. Thank you. And thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Any other comments?
Thank you. I will go back to family court then.
There you go. Thank you very much. Okay. At this time, I'll ask for a vote on item 8B. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, city manager items. City manager.
Mayor, first, if you would call on Ms. Hamrick for the financial report.
Ms. Hamrick.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor and Commission, the financial report for the City of Owensboro for the month ended September 30th, 2018. Our general fund revenues through September of $10,716,374 were $12,551 higher than budget. Our general fund expenditures of $13,228,615 were $2,532,831 under budget. This is primarily due to variance in capital due to reflecting prior year purchase orders and project carryovers and the total annual budget for the current year in the month of July. There are also savings in salaries and benefits, and we also have some timing in maintenance and supplies. Revenues and expenditures and other funds are in line with the year-to-date budget with the following exceptions. Our sanitation fund expenditures are $1,680,736 under budget. This is only due to timing of capital outlay. Our transit fund revenues and expenditures are under budget, and these are also due to timing. If I could refer you all to your PowerPoint screen for our graph. This graph represents a picture of our total general fund revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year to date, or 3 months, ended September 30th. The green bar reflects revenue at our old rates. The blue bar reflects revenue at the new rates, and the red bar reflects our expenditures. The year-end would have reflected a deficit of $3,904,666 on the old rate structure. With the new rate structure, we have a deficit of $2,512,241. Please note that we are coming up on 2 of the largest revenue-producing months, November and December, due to property tax collections. With that, I'd like to briefly review the variances. Revenues are higher than budgeted, which is primarily due to higher occupational tax withholding, and it's partially offset by lower insurance premium license fees. Our expenditures were lower than budget on our year-to-date, primarily due to the timing of projects and partially due to savings in personnel services due to vacancies and timing and maintenance and supplies. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer.
Commissioner Condon.
Thank you, Mayor. Angela, the financial reports will make your head spin if you're looking at everything being caught up and how you're tracking everything. It's an awesome job what you're doing. One area that if you could address would be the cash management side, because I noticed there seems to be some increase in our interest earnings, and how's that being done, and what it looks like your staff is just really working hard on this.
Well, that's a good question, Commissioner, and I'm happy to answer that. We have been able, due to projects wrapping up, the Bluegrass Museum, the parking garage, we invest cash for the Riverport, and we have to consult with agencies on the timing of their cash needs, as well as evaluate our cash needs. And so, with things settling down as far as fluctuations in our cash needs, ebb and flow, we've been able to invest a little more heavily. And so this time last year, our effective interest rate would have been anywhere from 1.6 to 2%. So what we're experiencing now, due to our increased investments, is 2.3 to 2.5% is what we're able to get now. So we've been very fortunate with the investment market and what we've been able to invest in.
Thank you very much. That's very good news. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Mayor.
for noticing.
You're welcome. Okay. At this time, I'll make a motion to file for audit, please. Could I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
I just had one quick question, if I could.
Sure.
Angela or Ms. Hamrick, where are we at with the bond rating issue? Have we had any more conversations with Moody's or Standard & Poor's about reviewing our bond rating? I know I asked this before, but I just wanted an update.
Yeah, we get our rating from Moody's. Standard & Poor's does not rate us. And so it's just Moody's. And we will not, as far as I know, have any more communication with them until we redeem our our bond anticipation notes, which we will do in 2020 or later. And so unless they pursue us and reach out to us, I don't expect to hear from them until that point in time. We still have the negative outlook removed at this point.
But we did have that removed.
Yes.
And what's the net positive of that? I mean, it may make you happy. What does that do for the people of Owensboro?
Well, it does several things. The rating will affect the interest rate when we go out to market to redeem our bands. if we redeem them, or we may just return them. We're still working on that plan. And so it will reduce the interest rate on any bonds that we either refund or issue. And so that turns into savings on interest expense. So that's a lesser expense to our constituents. Also, for those businesses looking to locate a business, I think that rating is important to them as well. They'll look to that because it kind of, it gives a good heartbeat or pulse, if you will, on the community as far as their businesses, their economic culture, the management of the city as well. They also look at that. So it does affect those two things.
Thank you,
You're
and thank you,
welcome.
Mayor.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 9B, personnel appointments.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
James Devine, probationary, full-time, non-civil service appointment to park keeper maintenance helper with the Public Works Department, effective November 26, contingent upon successful completion of all post-offer pre-employment requirements. Benjamin LaRue, probationary, full-time, non-civil service appointment to bus driver with the Public Works Department, effective November 26. Mike Sennett, probationary, full-time, non-civil service appointment to Public Works bus driver, effective November 26, contingent upon successful completion of all post-offer pre-employment requirements. John Doucette, probationary, full-time, non-civil service appointment to police officer with the Police Department, effective November 26, contingent upon completion of post-offer tests. John Bell and Corey Moore, probationary, full-time, non-civil service appointments to police officer with the Police Department, effective November 26. Stephen Franklin, regular, full-time, non-civil service appointment to Deputy Director of Public Works, the Public Works Department, effective November 13th. Joseph Newton, regular, full-time, non-civil service appointment to Public Works laborer maintenance helper with Public Works Department, effective November 13th. Aaron Krieger and Andrew O'Brien, regular, full-time, non-civil service appointments to police officer with the Police Department, effective November 15th.
Thank you. So I assume that if it has successful completion, that's a new hire, and the other ones are probationary, is that correct?
Mayor, on the probationary appointments are new hires, correct, and the regular status are employees that have been with us for some period of time and are coming off their probationary status.
Thank you.
And these are all, or none of these are new positions.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion from the commission? Bob?
No, I'm sorry, sir. I'm good. I was just breathing hard. Sorry about that.
It's okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 9C, city manager comments.
I do have a couple of additional comments, Mayor. Last week, the Kentucky Recreation and Park Society, KRPS, had its annual conference at Lake Barkley. The City of Owensboro Street Soccer Court at Legion Park won for the Facility of the Year award.
Cool.
They received the honor for its unique enhancement to the quality of life for our citizens and its expansion of recreational opportunities in the community. The award was presented last Wednesday at their annual conference, and Director Amanda Rogers and brothers Nikos and Christakis Ogicilia accepted
That's
the
close.
award.
Geese allow.
Hey, close enough. Also,
Still pot,
the
folks, you gotta remember that.
Thurston, actually, Mayor.
Thurston.
Also, the Parks Department received the President's citation for the Society from their dedicated work, community leadership, and outstanding operations in the field.
Awesome.
Woo-hoo, Amanda Lou.
Amanda Lou.
And then, Mayor, for the other comment, if I could ask Deputy Chief Speed to approach to the podium and give us a quick update on the flex unit.
You have to have big biceps to be on that thing, or what?
Okay, Jeff Speed, Owensboro Police, Mayor and Commissioners. Our flex team, we had them start working on September 2nd. We put a team together, and they worked through October to the beginning of November, and they just did an outstanding job. We're very pleased with the results. As a result of their performance, there were several violent offenders that were taken off the street. During their work, they conducted 410 traffic stops that resulted in 440 charges. During that campaign, there were 103 warrants served, 139 drug charges, and over 12 weapons charges. They just did outstanding work. To tack on to it, they gave almost 300 verbal warnings, so something we're very pleased with. It just wasn't an enforcement model We also wanted to utilize community policing and get out and engage the community. The men and women that were on this team conducted almost 3,000 minutes of foot patrol. And that was designed to break down barriers and basically foster relationships to work with the community to help solve crime. And they just did a really, really good job. Took 6 guns off the street, 1 axe, 1 brass knuckles set, and those weren't designed for good purposes. I promise you, they didn't have good intentions with those. We received numerous compliments from the public, almost every day, people thanking us for having the team down there. And it was a true partnership with the team and the community to get the job done. Something that we're very, very proud of. I talk about all those stops, and there's so many contacts that you can't measure when they're out doing foot patrol. But we only had 1 situation where we had to utilize force to make an arrest. So that's something that we're very, very proud of. Now, I'd like to mention the officers on the team. We had Sergeant Jason Lee, Sergeant Mike Nichols, Officer Kaufman, Officer Matthews, Officer Phillips, and Officer Watkins. And we had another member. We felt like that was the community because they all work together to help solve problems. So this is just like any other situation. If we have an issue where we need to adjust staffing, that's what we did. And if you picture this, it was really needed up front. That's why we made adjustments and formed the team. And they were very active. And it slowed every week that went by to the point to where they were doing more work just answering calls on the street instead of focusing on the details. So we put them back to their shifts which they came from. And so we moved the team back, put them on hold and put them back on the street. And that's what we would do with any situation that arose here in the city of Owensboro. If there was a need that arose, we would formalize, we would adjust our assets or adjust our personnel, address the situation, and deal with it. Everybody did a really good job. We're very pleased with the results.
Thank you, Assistant Chief Speed. And it wasn't really a reaction to what was going on. Y'all kind of had this in your back pocket all along, didn't you?
Yeah, we're on top of it. We're out there answering calls for service, and if the bell rings, we go. If the call comes up, we're there. We have our staffing based upon calls for service that we've looked at in the past. So we have our numbers based upon the day of the week, the time of the day. So we feel we have the numbers on the street to do the job, and we focus our efforts to manage that accordingly and be physically responsible with the tax dollars in doing that. So yeah, we're ready to go, but there was a need, and we made some adjustments. You had to just sort of make adjustments with the team and call a couple new plays and go out there and make it happen, and that's what was done, basically.
Congratulations. Thank you for making our community safer. I appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Well done.
Okay, then item number 10 is communication from elected officials. Commissioner Pam Smith-Wright.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say that we have a lot of visitors in the city this week, and especially the Kentucky Tourism Industry Association. They're here, and I've talked with some of them, and they have nothing but good things to say about Owensboro, and they have filled up all the hotels, and they said they haven't been here since the executive end because we didn't have enough room for them. So now they're here, and they're having their conference, and it's over. They're here until Thursday. So that's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Glenn.
Well, first and foremost, I just wanted to say that our institutions worked, and that is, first of all, the people spoke, and I was, I think, greatly heartened by the percentage of people who voted, and I think that's important regardless of the outcome. I also think it's very healthy for democracy to have journalism, lots of good journalism. And so I think it's great, the role that Austin and the MI played, as well as the Owensboro Times. I would certainly encourage you to continue working on your product. I won't mention who there. But I would indicate that it was good to have lots of media coverage and lots of good journalistic efforts by both publications. I would just say one other thing. I went to Salt Lake City for a conference right after the election, and they, like us, have a homeless issue. And the way they deal with it, and this may be a mayor's idea, something you may want to follow up on in the future, but they have signs up throughout their downtown corridor that say, please do not donate money or support panhandlers. And what they do is they've actually created a fund, I think it's out of their transit subcommittee, to fund a committee that then redistributes that, as we do, to their equivalent of St. Benedict's and Patino Shelter and the like. And I think that might be a good idea, because there were lots of people you could have easily given money to, and you saw that sign and you said, you know what, I don't need to do this. I'm going to pay my transit fee to ride light rail, and I'll contribute to that fund. So I don't need to give this person money. And I know we have that problem like many cities do. So it might be something to think about. It just involves putting some signs up. Anyway, thank you, and thank you to the people of Owensboro for the chance to serve. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Commissioner Condor.
Thank you, Mayor. With yesterday being Veterans Day observed, just one little comment. Thank you, Dad. I miss you. It seems as if we've skipped fall and went from summer right into winter is what it seems like. We have a white flag event tonight at St. Benedict's and some of the other shelters where they're adding some beds and some things like that. So take care of not only those individuals, but the people you love, your pets, and make sure that winter is showing up right in your back door. Last thing, just since we don't meet until after Thanksgiving, to all of our families, our friends, employees, happy Thanksgiving, heartfelt to each and every one of you. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Velada.
Just to echo what Commissioner Condor said, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you, staff, for all your work. And that's really all I got. Just other than that, I'm just obviously happy to be here, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a few minutes tonight to kind of enlighten our community. I was challenged at some meeting, I don't remember which one, about what the plan was for Owensboro. And when I ran for mayor, you know, I said everything I do will have an eye towards economic development. And I think this commission got together and we put an opportunity for more police on the street. We've gone through a tremendous transition on the fourth floor. I had some people in today that have been here multiple times. One person actually was a commissioner, and the whole atmosphere here has changed. It's very positive. Everybody's excited to be here. We've got new people in places, and that lends towards economic development. I got a letter from the Site Selection magazine. I'll read some of it. Enclosed find the River Cup that was presented to our community. We earned our annual analysis of per capita metro area corporate facility location and expansion of activity along the entire Ohio River corridor. They had performed this analysis of the corridor for many years, but this is only the second time we presented the trophy after your sister Kentucky Community Maysville earned it in 2017. It's evident from our research that reporting that your area has accumulated significant economic development momentum, and that you're well positioned to continue the momentum with so many primary employers hiring and secondary establishments setting up shop. Whether related to the river or not, partnerships across jurisdictional and organizational lines is central to the success, something I know that you all are well aware of through your work with economic development with Governor Bevin's team and working locally with municipal colleges as well as the Owensboro Community and Technical College, Greater Owensboro Economic Development Corp., and the Greater Owensboro Chamber of Commerce. So Adam Bruins, managing editor of Site Selection magazine. So that's a pretty big deal, because as the site selectors look through the state of Kentucky and try and locate, help different companies locate the fact that we've been awarded this site selection, I call it earned, not really won, this thing from the Site Selection Committee. So, and that's important, and especially I think one of the things that a local commission should be doing is being involved as much as they possibly can with Frankfort and with Washington. And I've spent an inordinate amount of time working with Frankfort, of course with Joe and with other committee members, trying to make our community more, I don't know the right word, probably, just let them know we're here, because I'm on a governor's workforce innovation board, and we tried to have a meeting in Western Kentucky, and it was going to be in Bowling Green. They had interstate to get there. We have 60-something people on this committee, and we couldn't get a quorum. And so it was quite obvious to me. We always meet in Frankfort, or we meet in Lexington or Louisville, so everybody from Western Kentucky has to drive up there. So the whole idea, the fact that the Site Selection magazine thinks that Western Kentucky and specifically Owensboro is appropriate, begs the fact that we couldn't even get this committee to get a quorum together in Bowling Green. So those are things that I've tried to do in Frankfort is make sure that they're aware of what's going on west of Elizabethtown. I've said this many times in those committee meetings that Trump already built his wall and is in Elizabethtown. You birds can't get across this thing to come to Western Kentucky because we've got a lot of stuff going down here. And so we tried to do it. We couldn't get a quorum, so we'll keep working on that. But I made a little list of some of the things that our group here has done for economic development. And I'm just going to quickly run through this list. I've attended at least every one of these, and most of us on this commission have. And obviously the Rooster Booster, the MLK celebration, all the city commission meetings, all the work sessions. I'm chairman of the TAC Policy Committee, which has jurisdiction over transportation in the area. We all went to Memorial Day celebrations. I've been going to economic development executive committee meetings and regular board meetings nonstop since we've been without economic development chair. That's 1 or 2 a week at 7 o'clock in the morning. I've met with the Museum of Fine Arts, did ribbon cutting for the farmers market, initial meeting with the Owensboro Times, which I was very happy to do. Attended the romp festivals, groundbreaking for the new Habitat House, which will be there in 100. I can't tell you how many police officers I've sworn in last year, Jeff. And firefighters. We had the 4th of July festivities. I was honored to throw out the first pitch at the Bomber State Tournament. Multiple corporation discussions with the judge. We meet at least twice a month. Most of the time I have to buy lunch, but we meet twice a month just to make sure that the city and the county are able to work together in things we can, and then we realize things that we can't work together in. It's extremely important to keep those lines of communication open. And with Nate being here now, he's kind of taken some of that load off of me because he'll go over there and meet, every other week or every other 2 weeks, meet with the judge to keep him informed on things that we're doing. With the KLC, I'm in constant contact with JD during the legislative session with the possibility of home rule and all the other things that go on in the legislature, because if you don't pay attention, something's going to hit you in the back of the head and you won't like it. I can't tell you how many meetings that we had with the Nikki Hayden family, and I thank Tim Ross for helping with that to try and get that statue presented. We obviously worked hard with Houston Hog event for the Wall of Fame. Met with Claude Porter on juvenile domestic violence. Domestic violence after the loss of Erica. We had the big black and blue dinner where we honored 4 African Americans that were the first 4 African Americans to play football at the University of Kentucky. We had, I think a lot of us attended the public school system's opening day, where we sat and high-fived those kids as they came to school for their first day to encourage them to stay in school. The WKUO advisory group, the OCD, I'm on the Community College Foundation Board. We work very hard with existing industry to try and make sure that everybody's involved with the Go Fame and the Work Ready program. And if you hadn't seen this video from a young man that was actually a dishwasher in a restaurant, and Mike Rogers, one of the big shots out the community college, took him under his wing, and now he's doing fantastic. He's been featured in the Owensboro Chamber magazine, and I'm really proud of the work that the community college is doing. Of course, we attended the awards banquet at OPS, and I just was trying to figure out who didn't get an award that night, Jeff, but there's a whole bunch of them because you got such good. We attended the Army Armstrong event where he was inducted into the Hall of Fame for Kentucky. Attended a fundraiser for the at Old Z Tyler for the Kentucky House. we went to a manufacturing day, which was really pretty cool. We met out at Kentronics, and we brought in all the placemakers in the community that hire people in manufacturing. Found out something I didn't know, that they make guitar strings out there, and a lot of the bluegrass musicians are big clients of the Kentronics out there, which was really good. We had Chris Joslin came and played a little music, and I think I saw Pam there. I'm pretty sure I did. We went to the Kroger Grand reopening, Western Park Plaza. Met with Stan Kramer about the bonding issues that for the city, and to try and understand a little bit more about that. Bluegrass interview, spent about an hour and a half talking to WNIN with a guy that knew less about bluegrass music than I did, and we greeted the sister city officials here. We've had a sister cities program for some students, which they came to Owensboro and were housed by some of our citizens. We had a press conference for the at the Sports Center for the new Owensboro Thoroughbreds. I met with Oscar, first time I'd ever done that, and they said it was the first time a mayor had ever attended. The Workforce Innovation Board, we welcomed the Kentucky Public Transportation Association here. I spoke about disabled transportation that GRITS provides, and what a tremendous economic development it is for our community. We do have a new Christmas card that we voted on. It's better than that thing we had last year, I can tell you that by 100%. But it does involve the Bluegrass Museum, and Rex did another fine job, and that print will be donated to the Museum of Fine Arts. We planned a public forum to try and let our city commissioners that were in the candidates. I took a lot of heat because some of the ones that were not existing commissioners felt like I was trying to give the existing commissioners an upper hand because they would have a better understanding of what was going on at the city. But all of them performed admirably. We had the public library opening the other day. It was exciting. We had a public power luncheon, attended Davis County Drug Court graduation. And if you've never gone to that, it's really beautiful because these people have been in the lowest spots they could possibly ever be, and they fought themselves out and of that spot, and they're doing very well now. Multiple meetings with the new HRC director. We were at, I think all of us were at Zion Baptist Church for the Sam Bird presentation. I gave him the Mayor's Award for Excellence. Unbelievable amount of conference calls and meetings for the Mid-State Corridor, which be going there tomorrow afternoon to try and keep that project alive. Staying in communication with the Kentucky Department of Transportation on the 54 project, which we were awarded another $15 million, which pushed us towards being a federal project. Staying in contact with USDOT because we have that project in the Mid-State Corridor, plus we have a big project at the Owensboro Riverport trying to compete for a build grant to widen 331 so the trucks would have better access to the Riverport, and also create a second rail line, which all will be huge and for economic development. We always try and figure out ways to connect ourselves with Frankfort and Washington, and and that really doesn't include all the phone calls and all the other things that we try and do here for economic development. Plus, we're about to get the board situation all squared away now, aren't we, Beth? The appointment of boards and reading applications of people who want to serve. So the plan is to continue to move as quickly and as logically as we can, because transportation and infrastructure are the key to economic development. And we've got a good start, and we just need to keep on moving forward. So I apologize for being so long, but there's a lot of things going on at City Hall a lot of people don't know about, don't care about, but we are working hard for our community, and I want to thank all the commission, and of course Nate. He adds this pragmatic view that I don't have, which helps me out quite a bit. So I apologize for taking so long, but I think at some point in time, the community needs to know what these I want to say volunteers, these elected officials do on behalf of all the citizens. So, item 11, open public forum. Members of the audience are invited to address the city commission on any matter of public concern that was not on tonight's agenda. Comments are listed to issues within the scope and responsibility of this commission. At this time, anyone who wishes to address the commission may make their way to the podium. Speakers must state their name and address for the clerk's record and limit their remarks to 3 minutes or less. Since the item's not on the agenda, no response is required from the staff or the commission, and the mayor reserves the right to extend the time. So anybody like to speak, move to the podium, please. I put you all to sleep, didn't I? Okay, we'll move on to item number 12. I'd like to have a motion to enter into closed session. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Closed session under KRS 61.8101B to discuss the acquisition or sale of property, and we do not anticipate any action tonight. So at this time, we'll move into closed session.